Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 2021 Clean Energy Access Summit brought to you by Acterra. We would like to thank you all for joining us today. My name is Casey, and I am an environmental studies student at the University of Southern California. I'm joined today by John Cadiz, an urban planning master's student at USC, and Alexandria Turner, an international relations major at UC Berkeley. We have been working with Acterra this summer as part of the California Climate Action Corps Fellowship Program. And today's event is scheduled to end at 11 a.m. with speakers taking up the first hour, followed by interactive discussion sessions for attendees. Our presenters today are Bruce Hodge from Acterra, Carlos Moreno from Peninsula Clean Energy, Jessica Chancellor from PG&E, and Diane Bailey from Menlo Spark. We are lucky to have this mix of qualified speakers, and we hope that you all enjoy the event. I'll now pass things along to Lauren Weston, Acterra's Executive Director.
Thank you so much, Casey. Hi, everyone. My name is Lauren Weston, Executive Director of Acterra, Action for a Healthy Planet. We are so grateful to have you here today to be talking about clean energy access. It's one of the cornerstones of our programming that has come from many months of strategic planning and also many years of community service. We've been around for 52 years. And our whole mission is to bring people together to create local solutions for a healthy planet. What we'll be talking about today, like I mentioned, is one of our programmatic cornerstones, beneficial electrification for all. We also do youth programming. We have a middle school curricula and high school ambassador program. We have a young professionals group. If anyone's interested to learn more about those programs, please feel free to reach out. We have our Healthy Plate, Healthy Planet program, which is dedicated to plant-based diets and food waste. We also have a workplace sustainability program that focuses on working with small, medium, large size companies and organizations, moving them towards more sustainable practices. You can stay tuned for more information for that as well. Our fall forum will be coming up, and you can visit our events page to learn more about all of our programs that we're doing over the coming months. Our main goals are teaching about climate change and hoping to provide solutions for our local community to meet those needs that are community-based, community-defined, and empower and give voice to communities to actually kind of thrive in climate change settings, right? We all want to adapt and learn more and save this planet that we all call home. I'm thrilled today to have you here. We have these amazing Climate Corps Action Fellows that have joined us this summer that have put this event on for us. They were introduced earlier, but we cannot thank them enough for their time. Casey, John, and Alex have created an amazing event for us today, and I'm thrilled to welcome you. And again, I'll put some links in the chat about how to connect with Acterra and register for events and all of those things as we go about the morning. But please enjoy your morning, and thank you so much for your time.
So moving on to our first presenter. So our first presenter is Bruce Hodge, an environmental activist, fine art photographer, and computer scientist. Bruce counts himself as a lifelong environmentalist, with his first concerns about climate change surfacing in about 1985 or so. So since about 2006, Bruce has concentrated on getting Palo Alto to implement cutting-edge environmental policies while keeping a close eye on many aspects of climate change in general. He founded Carbon-Free Palo Alto in 2011 and played a crucial role in convincing the city of Palo Alto to provide carbon-neutral electricity to all customers. Since then, he's worked to keep Palo Alto in the vanguard of cities striving to implement a low-carbon energy future by focusing on strategies such as community solar and environmentally beneficial electrification. So please give a warm welcome to Bruce. And then, Bruce, you're free to go.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. I'll get my screen shared here. Okay, my talk is about, can you hear me? My talk is about mass beneficial electrification. So this talk is going to explore aspects of a national beneficial electrification project, including the required timeline and scale and technology. And the Bay Area is home to several groundbreaking initiatives in this arena, and what are they, and how can you help solve the crisis? So the good news is that political will is the only obstacle to solving climate change. The bad news is political will is the only obstacle to solving climate change. So what is the goal? Obviously, it's stabilizing the climate at an acceptable level. And what is an acceptable level? The Paris Climate Accords are telling us that we need to limit our increase to 1.5 degrees C. And the IPCC is saying that the limiting global warming to 1.5 degrees C would require rapid, far-reaching, and unprecedented changes in all aspects of society. So where are we now? We're currently already at 1.2 degrees above pre-industrial levels. September 2020 was the hottest month ever. We've got raging fires going on right now. Obviously, things are not looking great. So do we even have a 1.5 degrees C future? So this graph is showing the carbon budgets that we have to meet in order to stay within 1.5 degree. We're currently emitting more than 40 gigatons per year in emissions. And this graph is showing a budget of 420 gigatons of carbon left in our budget. There's new research which shows that actually instead of 420, we have only 235 gigatons left. So that's less than 5 years at our current emission rates. And this is assuming no use of negative emissions technologies, which is sucking CO2 out of the air. So it's really pretty unlikely that 1.5 degrees C is attainable in the near future, but we should really try as much as we can to stay as close to 1.5 as possible. The negative emission technologies have been highlighted a lot by the fossil fuel industry, but they're really a sideshow at best. This green line here is indicating projected savings or removal from these negative emission technologies. You can see it's just a small percentage of the overall reduction that's necessary. This comes from the executive director of Project Drawdown, which you may be familiar with. So almost 80% of our global emissions are related to energy. And so what we really need is a new energy infrastructure. And so what does that mean? It means that we really need to decarbonize the electricity supply, electrify almost everything, and replace our fossil fuel infrastructure with a modern, clean electric one. This is going to require a massive transformational approach, industrial mobilization. It's going to save money in the end. We need a production ramp akin to World War II, and it generates jobs in every zip code. And so it gives us what we all want: warm homes, hot water, cool cars, clean air, and clean water. So let's take a look at the energy side. We need to transition to zero carbon electricity. And we all know what the renewable sources available are. Storage is going to play an extremely important role. It's going to be likely dominated by batteries, but other technologies too. And we need to upgrade our electric grid to Grid 2.0. It's going to require about 3 to 4 times our current electricity supply. The good news is that the new electric devices are ultra efficient, and renewable energy is a technology, so the cost of generating renewable energy will decline over time. And then we need to electrify everything. We need to transition our fossil fuel devices to ultra efficient electric devices. We need to rapidly move over to no new fossil fuel devices being put into service, and that's everything, including water heaters, HVAC, and vehicles. We need to, at this point, we really need to replace our existing devices at the end of life, at their end of life. And that needs to be done at near 100% replacement rates. In other words, no new fossil fuel devices. This is going to require some new performance-based standards which phase out fossil fuels, probably also large-scale financing at zero or nominal interest rates. Think of the FHA program being modified at the federal level into the Federal Climate Authority. Fossil fuels are cheap now and expensive later. Renewables are expensive now and cheap later. So what are the beneficial electrification technologies? I think most of you are probably familiar with these. We have heat pumps. Refrigerators use heat pumps. They move heat from one place to another. It's a proven technology. These heat pump technologies achieve amazing efficiencies between 400 and 500% compared to the existing devices, which max out at maybe 98%. So this is really good news that we have these devices. On the battery and EV front, EVs are here because of advances in battery technology. We now have 50 kilowatt batteries, which give more than 200 miles of range, and even larger battery packs are coming on board. The automotive industry is finally getting their act together and starting to focus more on EVs. The total cost of ownership is EVs is less, and they are have very low maintenance and awesome performance. We're going to need over 1 trillion batteries in order to do this, or 60 billion batteries every year. That sounds a lot, but it's similar to 90 billion batteries that are bullets that are manufactured in the world today. So we need batteries, not bullets. We need a grid 2.0. Need some updating. We really need a smart grid. It needs to be able to share power across regions so that each region doesn't have to be 100% self-sufficient. And we can deploy grid interactive devices, which can allow us to both contribute power and take power from the grid as needed. Water heaters can be grid interactive. And then we have these emerging vehicle to grid and vehicle to home technologies that allow us to do the same kinds of things with our EVs. The batteries associated with the EVs are a tremendous resource that we can tap into. What kind of pace do we need in order to electrify? Well, in short, we need to electrify much more rapidly. In order to hit something approaching a 1.5 to 2 degrees C world, we really need to have replace everything at 100% at the end of life when fossil fuel devices fail. All these other strategies that people are talking about, taxes, subsidies, rebates, and that kind of thing, just don't really move the needle fast enough in order to get to where we need to be. Palo Alto, Carbon-free Palo Alto modeled the Palo Alto's 80 by 30 goal, and we need to replace roughly 2,300 water heaters per year and 1,400 HVACs in order to make this happen. This is a lot of, obviously, a lot of devices need to be replaced. We need a production ramp up, obviously. Just as you can see, lots of big numbers, lots more EVs, batteries, turbines, solar modules, etc. On the public policy front, rebates and incentives alone are not going to enable mass electrification. They don't really scale beyond the early adopters. And they don't really help low and moderate income residents without more additional capital. And there are an absolute cost that is not recovered. And for the Bay Area alone, if we issue rebates at the current levels that are being offered, that's $400 million per year for water heaters alone. That's a lot of dough. We just can't afford to have that kind of outlay. So we really need to move quickly to mandates or performance standards that effectively prohibit new fossil fuel devices. The 100% replacement at end of life is a logical extension of energy reach codes, and it's a common sense approach. And we need to focus on market transformation to upgrade our energy infrastructure. And we should encourage the zero interest financing of fossil fuel devices. We need to address the racial and economic injustice issues. And we should be encouraging the proactive replacement of fossil fuel devices by the utilities. And so one approach to massive electrification is a program that Carbon-free Palo Alto has come up with called Be Smart. The utilities proactively orchestrate the replacement process of fossil fuel devices. The customers pay the same business as usual amount at the initial outlay, and the rest is financed. You can see more details about this program proposal at carbonfreepaloalto.org. The national policy, I'm not going to talk much about that. Obviously, there's a lot going on, and there's a lot of debate about the about the infrastructure bill right now. There's a lot of stuff, good stuff going on, but obviously it's not enough. So, but the news coming out from the feds is generally good news. There's been a lot of action here in the Bay Area. The Bay Area is leading the charge. We've seen the rise in the last decade of the CCA's, Community Choice Aggregators, which supply clean power to most of the Bay Area. All those have come online, and now we've seen in 2019 Berkeley instituting a gas ban using municipal police powers. And from 2019 on, we've seen the REACH codes adopted from San Francisco to San Jose, and Diane Bailey of Manila Spark has organized a campaign to provide this crucial momentum, and Acterra was helped in that effort. And moving forward, as I mentioned before, we really need to focus on getting performance standards and mandates into place. And so what can you do? You can take personal responsibility. You can focus on your big, long-lasting purchases and develop a plan to ditch fossil fuels. You can replace your natural gas water heater at end of life, your HVAC at end of life, your fossil fueled vehicle at end of life, your gasser with an EV, and you can reduce your consumption by buying, driving, and flying less. And you can plug into the political process and demand local action. And so this is a quote from Saul Griffith. We now face a climate emergency as challenging as all of our other 20th century emergencies combined. It requires mobilization with extraordinary speed and resources. Without doubt, you're worried, scared, or worse. That's reasonable, but we can't do nothing. And as we'll find out, this is also a vast opportunity to improve our world. And so I say, amen, let's roll. And so thank you for that. I highly recommend this Rewiring America field manual by Saul Griffith, and others can find it, can download it off the web. So that's it. Thank you very much.
Cool. Thanks, Bruce. How about a round of applause? We can't hear you, but the sentiment will be shared among us. But now we are opening a brief Q&A. If anyone has any questions for Bruce, feel free to drop it inside the chat and the Q&A section of the stage chat, and we could start sharing it out. But yeah, so I could start off with a question that we have for Bruce. So I was just wondering, in terms of, you guys were talking about EVs, and I think currently a lot of people are buying EVs, but not for the right reason. They're mostly seeing it as a status quo rather than, to help the environment. So I was just wondering, how do we transition people's mindset when buying EVs or like these newer technologies, not just because they're cool or something like that? That'd be, yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's a great question. I think it really needs to, a lot of it boils down to communication. And of course, Acterra is doing a lot of good things to try to get people aware of what's going on. I think a lot of folks just don't realize the situation that we're in. We really need to be, as I pointed out, in a space where we're not even manufacturing gassers anymore and selling them, because we just don't have any more room in our carbon budgets. So yeah, it's a huge challenge. I agree, and there are not a lot of effective policy levers that we could pull. There is good news at the national level. That there was some news today about the Biden administration putting out some policy mechanisms that will essentially penalize automobile manufacturers that do not hop on the EV bandwagon. Perfect example of a company that should be on the EV bandwagon is Toyota.
Okay, cool. And then we could move on to another question. So in terms of, you listed out a lot of beneficial electrification technologies. So which one of the ones you listed do you see being the biggest game changer and something that we could start doing now rather than later?
All of the above. We have to do all. I mean, the heat pump technology, there's no reason why we can't be swapping out water heaters now. They work just fine. Part of the problem is that we're in the early innings, and so of this market transformation. So there's when you have an adoption of new products and technologies, there's typically an S-curve involved. We're at the very bottom, the toe of that S-curve, and so it's really hard for folks to adopt these new technologies because the infrastructure isn't there. The market infrastructure is not there. So it's a sort of a chicken and the egg problem in a way. We need policy that is going to drive this market transformation forward and adoption by consumers. And as that happens, that's going to push the price down and make it a lot easier for people to adopt these new technologies. And they shouldn't have to, nobody should have to be an expert on any of this stuff. It ought to be as simple as saying, yep, I want something that's going to help the climate, just do what it takes, and I'm down.
Yeah, I think those are all great answers to the questions that we have. I think we could, if everyone is all right with moving on to the next speaker. Thank you, Bruce.
Great.
It was great hearing from you.
Right.
Sweet.
Our next speaker is Carlos Menora, a marketing communications specialist from Peninsula Clean Energy. Carlos is also president of Acterra's Young Professionals Group. He is passionate about the intersection of climate solutions and local actions. In his free time, he watches arguably an unhealthy amount of comedy shows, but he balances it out with reading and exercise. I would like to present to you Carlos Menora.
Hi, everyone. My name is Carlos. First off, thank you to Acterra and to all of you for spending some time today to hear about these important topics. Was really fired up by Bruce's presentation. Really added a sense of urgency to the issue. So next slide, please. Great. So Bruce talked about CCAs a little bit, or Community Choice Aggregators, but I'm going to do a quick introduction about CCAs and Peninsula Clean Energy generally, and then talk about some of the programs so that we can start making the switch to all electric and clean energy solutions. So about Peninsula Clean Energy, we were launched in 2016. Our vision is to build a sustainable world with clean energy for everyone. We were authorized unanimously by all the city council members in each city and the county supervisors. And we've saved customers an estimated $18 million annually. Next slide. Sure. So we're a not-for-profit. We're a public agency. The board is made up of elected officials, and we have a citizens advisory committee that's also open to the public. Next slide, please. Okay, so in short, the way it works is, so we generate the electricity. So we sign the contracts for solar, wind, other energy, large-scale energy, and at lower rates than PG&E. PG&E then delivers the electricity, that power that we generate, and sends one consolidated bill. And as a customer of Peninsula Clean Energy, there's no change on your end. There's no action you had to take. You're automatically enrolled into Peninsula Clean Energy. Basically, before Peninsula Clean Energy existed, PG&E did both the generation portion and they delivered the electricity. So they did both of those portions. And now Peninsula Clean Energy in San Mateo County at the local level sources the energy, and PG&E delivers it. Next slide, please. Okay, so really quick, you'll probably notice on your bill, it'll say Peninsula Clean Energy electric generation charges. And basically the change was that before it would just be one line item. So it would say electricity charges, and now they've broken it up into the delivery and the generation. So we'll get questions all the time about, is this an extra added portion of the bill? Is this a new $30 that is being charged? But it's actually not. They just separate it into two line items, and you can even see on your bill what PG&E would have charged for generation that they return to you. Next slide. Okay, so basically now you have options. Everyone is automatically enrolled into Eco Plus, which is 50% renewable, 100% carbon free, and 5% lower rates than what PG&E would have charged for generation. And then if you choose to, you can go up to Eco 100, which is just 100% renewable, and it's about $4 more per month for the average consumer. And you can do that on our website, or you can even opt back into PG&E if you choose to. Next slide. Okay, so in a nutshell, that's the majority of what we do in our business day to day is signing these contracts, generating electricity, all the electricity that residents and businesses receive on day to day. But since we're also a public agency, we reinvest earnings into community programs to benefit San Mateo County. Because at the end of the day, what we really want to do is get to a zero carbon world. So we can control how clean or not clean the electricity is when you flip a switch, but we want to go beyond that. So there's programs to further reduce carbon emissions and improve San Mateo County. And we really break that up into three portions. One, transportation. So you may have seen some of our EV ads from a few years back for new EVs. A second is resiliency and helping people stay on the grid despite outages. And the third is buildings, so things like heat pump water heaters, reach codes, etc. And when people think of, how they can impact actions they can take to reduce their own footprint, people tend to think first and foremost of transportation, which is totally valid, but people don't tend to think about buildings and how huge buildings are to contributing to emissions. So I'll talk about that in a sec. Next slide, please. Okay, so in a bonus program that we also offer right now in terms of CARE and FARA is this Green Access program, which CARE and FARA are these discount rates. Depending if you reach a certain income or below, you can qualify for these discount programs, CARE or FARA. So if you know anyone who you think could potentially qualify, may have lost their job during COVID or whatever, senior citizen, it's important to enroll them in CARE and FARA, not only because these are discount rates, but because this also unlocks several other programs for them. So for example, we previously had a program for the coast side in around Half Moon Bay area that would be more likely to be targeted by public safety power shutoffs that would happen. So we targeted that area plus CARE or FARA residents, and we provided them with a free portable backup battery. So this is like a battery that's so big, and this is also a medical baseline customer. So people who may may have a medical issue. And we gave them this portable battery so that they would be online. But making sure that you're on the correct role also unlocks you for a number of other programs through Peninsula Clean Energy and others. One being this Green Access program, which allows customers who are in CARE and FARA and live in certain census tracts to also save an additional 20% on their electricity bill on top of the CARE FARA discount. And El Concilio is a nonprofit who's leading these enrollments. Next slide, please. And those are the qualifying census tract in South County. Next slide. Great. More census tract. Next slide. Perfect. Okay, so electric vehicles. So we've had a pretty big push in the past around new electric vehicles, and we're really trying different ways. So not only new electric vehicles, but used electric vehicles, and this program, which is an EV rental program, to get people into electric cars and excited about switching into an EV. So obviously, some benefits are saving money on fuel, how having lower maintenance costs. You know, people I think are starting to realize how much cheaper it is to own an EV over the total cost of ownership over time rather than a gas car. And right now we have this EV rental program where you can receive $200 to rent an EV. So basically, you can go to whatever company, enterprise. We recommend Turo because they have a large supply of EVs. But if you're a San Mateo County resident, you can check out an EV for however long you want, and we'll give you a rebate of up to $200 just to test it. Next slide. Okay, so we're also launching a used EV rebate program in the next week or so. So this is brand new. I would recommend staying on top of our website or our social media handles to know when this is launching. But basically, the majority of San Mateo County residents will now be eligible for $1,000 to purchase a used EV. And this would be through any dealership anywhere. And they just purchase their car, and then we can give them $1,000 if they purchase a fully electric EV, and $700 for a plug-in hybrid EV. And for income qualifying residents, and we have there's a list on our website of what those income levels are. And below, we'll offer up to $4,000 or $3,700 for a plug-in hybrid. And just a couple things. One, if you're interested in this program, you will have to apply first through our website and make sure you receive the pre-approval. And once you receive that pre-approval, then you can go and purchase your EV, and we'll give you a rebate. Alternatively, always first go through our website and get that pre-approval. But after that, you can go to the dealer network that we have partnered with, which will also be on our website, and you'll receive an instant rebate from there. So you don't have to worry about getting the money back later. And just one more thing on that. So for the income qualifying residents, if you know anyone who you think could be eligible for up to $4,000, you'll also be able to stack it with other discount programs, and you'll be able to see on the website, which other programs you could be eligible for. Next slide. Okay, in terms of resilience, our main program is Power On Peninsula. So this program offers a $1,250 incentive to install solar plus battery storage systems when leased. And the way we have designed this, our partner for this is Sunrun. And the way we have designed this program with Sunrun is that if you lease the program through them, you should put little or no money down, plus receive the $1,250 incentive. And really the key here of getting solar versus solar plus battery storage is that if you have solar plus battery storage, you can maintain power during outages. And the lease agreements are also designed to save money on electric bills over time. So yeah, the information on this program is on our website. Next slide. Great. In terms of buildings, our program right now is the heat pump water heater program. So we partnered with Bayren to offer up to $2,500 off to replace your gas water heater with a heat pump, an electric heat pump water heater program. And there's also, like I mentioned, additional rebates for CARE and FARA customers, or if customers need an electric panel upgrade, they can be eligible for more. And just a time-sensitive thing, a portion of the rebate, $500 of that, expires on September 30th. Next slide. Okay, and some benefits of heat pump water heaters is they're more efficient, they use cleaner energy, and they operate during power outages with solar and battery system. Next slide. Great. So forgot to change this slide, but my information is just C Moreno at Peninsula Clean Energy, but feel free to follow us on our handles. And if you follow us on Facebook or Twitter, you can always send us a question. I also manage the social media page, so I'd be happy to answer you there as well. So thank you everyone for your time, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Carlos, for that. And yes, if anyone has any questions for Carlos, please submit them in the Q&A section of the stage chat.
Sure.
Okay, so I'm going to start reading off questions. The first question from Anonymous. Carlos, I am interested in how the Power on Peninsula program could be expanded for renters, not just homeowners.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's a really great program. That is definitely something we're looking at. Right now, the DAC solar program that I mentioned at the top is partially targeted to that. So the DAC solar program, that's an additional 20%. I really only talked about the end numbers to get people excited and interested in that. But the reason for that program is that they're building solar on a separate site, and they want people who are renters or in certain communities to be able to take advantage of the benefits of solar, which is why they're offering this 20% discount for Care and Farah customers. So that's probably the main way we're addressing that right now immediately. But obviously we want people who are renters to also take advantage a larger scale in the future. And the other thing I'll mention in terms of renters is that we have an EV infrastructure program where we're spending millions of dollars throughout San Mateo County to build out EV infrastructure. And our top priority for that are renters and businesses, so that they can also take advantage and being able to retrofit buildings, even if it's installing a level 1 charger, so that all people can also take advantage of some of our programs.
Awesome. Next question. When does the used EV rebate program take effect, or is it already happening?
Sure. Great question. So we have it scheduled tentatively to launch next week. So yeah, very, very soon. It is not active yet, and I would just either stay on top of our website or social media to make sure that you know when it's officially started.
Okay. Can you talk about the process of involving utilities and how this can be scaled to other regions?
Sure. So yeah, I would probably want to be a little bit careful, on this question. I will say that we've recently expanded to Los Banos, which is a city in Merced. And because we built a first large-scale solar program there called Right Solar, which powers around, I believe, 200,000 homes specifically for San Mateo County. It's the first of its kind for a CCA, and that was based in the Los Banos area. And kind of through the process of building out that solar farm, we established a relationship with Los Banos, and they were compelled about the value proposition of a CCA, so they joined us. But beyond that, I'm not very privy to the discussions on expansion to other new areas or what that would look like.
Okay, for Carlos, I am charged at a rate of 0.14 kilowatts per hour. Will that stay constant? Will residential customers ever be charged with peak rate pricing? I want to know before getting more electric appliances.
Sure. So I would say, I don't know what people's specific situation is, what rate plan you are, and you'd be happy to email me separately. So C Moreno, Moreno. If you'd like specific questions about your situation, we have a whole customer care team designed to answer these questions. But what I'll say is that coming in September, we will be switching approximately 200,000 customers in the area to a time of use rate plan, meaning that you would be charged from peak hours of 4 to 9 p.m. This isn't for everyone. So if you're on the tiered E1 rate, it could include you, but this would incentivize people to use their energy when renewable sources are more plentiful. So outside of that 4 to 9 p.m. and the demand is lower. So the 4 to 9 would be the most expensive time. So it incentivizes you to use energy outside of that to make sure that we're using as much clean sources as possible.
To follow up on that question, is there any thought to making gas and electric pricing more equal for businesses? The peak electrical costs make them more apt to use gas appliances.
Mm-hmm. Mm. Yeah, so I want to be specific, about where we fit in the model. We're very specific to electricity generation, so we don't have anything to do with the gas portion, unfortunately. So we wouldn't have, at least to my knowledge, say in terms of how gas is priced.
Okay, last question. Do you all look at programs like SOMAH or SGIP?
SCHIP. Yeah, so we are looking at the SCHIP program, but this is again, I want to make sure I'm being accurate. Is that this is probably a question more for our program side and the programs team. I'm on the marketing team. The programs team is the team that's creating all of these programs based on a variety of factors. Part of which I know is the SCHIP program. So they're the ones who budget that out and create those plans, and from there they loop us in to help with the marketing and getting the word out. But how programs creates those how they end up creating that would be probably a better question for Raphael. And again, feel free to ping me. I'm happy to connect anyone to anyone on our team, because they're the real experts on that.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much, Carlos, for your presentation and answering these questions. We're going to go
My
head
pleasure.
off for the next speaker. Thank you.
Sweet. So we're waiting for her to hop on right now. Okay, there she is. So our next speaker is Jessica Chancellor. Jessica is an avid dog lover and a principal product manager for Pacific Gas Electric Company, also known as PG&E, specializing in project management with a focus on communications and change management. She has worked for PG&E for 12 years and is currently leading community-based organization outreach efforts. Jessica is responsible for ensuring educational awareness on topics related to rate options, assistance programs, contact information preferences, and the current TOU transition. In parallel, she also serves as the lead Community Choice Aggregator, also known as CCA, relationship manager, ensuring their inclusion on all items related to electric rates. Let's please welcome Jessica. Cool.
Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for having me. Can you just confirm that you can hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. Fantastic. Okay, so I am thrilled to be on this webinar with all of you today so I could share some important information. Carlos really set the stage for me, so thank you, Carlos. Peninsula Clean Energy is one of the partners that I work with regularly, hand in hand, and he has really set up quite a bit of the information that I'll also be sharing with you, so appreciate that. Some of the items that I wanted to cover with you today are, one, rate options. I want to make sure that you're aware that you do have options when it comes to rates, and that it's not a one-size-fits-all approach. So we want to make sure that you're finding the rate plan that's best for you. And that is whether you're with Peninsula Clean Energy or another CCA or solely with PG&E. Those rate plan options are available to all of those customers. And then we have communication preferences that I want to share with you, that you have the ability to choose your language, the way that you want to receive information. So I'll show you how to do that. as well as the importance of updating contact information, and then some assistance programs, because right now, along with any time really, I know we're all, for the most part, focused on trying to save money, and some of these programs can be applicable today. So if you simply enroll or get more information about it, share it with friends and family, that could assist you, and you could start saving money right away. All right, so let's get into the meat of it. Okay, so I explained with rate plan options, you do have a choice. And I want to kind of break it down for you a bit as to what types of rate plans you can choose from. There are 3 different types. One is the time of use rate plans. There are currently 2 of them available. There is the peak pricing 4 p.m. to 9 p.m. everyday rate plan. That's the one that you heard about from Carlos. That rate plan is being utilized in our current time of use transition that's underway. And there's more information in regards to that I can share with you in the breakout session if you choose to join me there. And then there is another time of use rate plan, and it's peak pricing 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. on the weekdays. And just as those sound, as their descriptive names entail, the peak pricing hours are the 4 p.m. to 9 p.m. or 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. And what that means is that for all other hours of each day, the cost for energy is lower. So with a time of use rate plan, the key thing is that it really provides more control back to the customer on how to manage their bill. Because if you can use energy during the off-peak periods, you usually can save money. But again, some people need a lot of flexibility, and so we have other rate plan options available as well. We have a tiered rate plan, which is commonly known as E1. And what that means is that the more you use, the more you pay. So if you use a lot of energy, the more energy that you're using, the higher price you're going to be paying, regardless of what time of day you're using your energy. You're not going to be receiving a differing in price based on the time of day. And so if you are a high energy user, it may be preferred that you go to a time of use rate plan. And I'll show you how we can determine what is in fact the best rate plan for you. Then we also have electric vehicle or battery storage rate plan options. And again, just as that sounds, these rate plans are designed for customers with either an electric vehicle or battery storage. So if you're interested in getting more information about these specific rate plans, you can join me in the breakout session. I'd be happy to share information there. Or you can go to pge.com/rate choices. And there we have a personalized rate plan comparison tool that will do all the work for you. Literally, you log in, you run your personalized rate plan comparison. I can show you the easy step process to do that in the breakout session. And it will tell you, based on how you've already been using your energy, what is the best rate plan for you financially. It gives you an estimated cost annually for each of your eligible rate plans. And again, that is based on how you've already been using your energy, literally taking into account the time of day that you're using your energy and how much energy you're using. So it's an easy way to truly figure out what is the lowest cost rate plan for you. Now, in regards to contact information and language preference, we know that there are several customers, well, thousands of customers out there really, that would prefer to have their information, whether it's their bill or other messaging, come to them in a different language. And that is available. So I would encourage customers to either go online to pge.com or give us a call on the contact center. The number is noted there for you. So that you can advise us what is the language that you would prefer. We also have translators available in the contact center for thousands of languages. So if you need one of those other languages or a family or friend could utilize that, please be sure to share that information with them. And then as we get into the public safety power shutoff season, it's really important that we have your contact information up to date. So please take the time to go online or give us a call and let us know what is the best number for us to reach you at, so that we can make sure to get these important safety messages to the right location. Okay. In regards to programs, when it comes to saving money, these are a couple of our greatest benefit programs. We have CARE and FARA. Carlos had provided a little bit of information about CARE earlier. You can go online to pge.com/CARE FARA to see the income guidelines to apply for either of those programs. And these programs, what they do is they are income-based for limited income customers. CARE stands for California Alternative Rates for Energy, and it provides a 35% discount on your electric service and a 20% discount on your gas service. Now, if you need a little larger income allotment and you have a family in your home of equaling the size of 3 or more people, then you could qualify for FARA, and FARA provides an electric-only discount of 18%. Now, if you do qualify for CARE, you will be enrolled automatically into CARE because it does provide the greater benefit. If you don't, but you qualify for FARA, then you get automatically enrolled. It is the same application, and you can enroll either online through our automated system by calling our contact center or reaching a representative there. So there are a few different ways that you can receive enrollment assistance with both of those programs. Now, we also have an income qualified program by the name of Energy Assistance, Energy Savings Assistance Program, also known as ESA. Now, this program, I heard somebody asking about programs for renters. This program can be applied to a customer who actually is renting their home. That's the great thing about this program. It applies to whether you own or you rent. And what it does is it gives you the tools to either make your home more energy efficient, or a contractor can come out to make the home more energy efficient, doing things like replacing weather stripping, upgrading appliances, things of that nature, which would in turn allow you to use less energy, and then your bill would be lower. So if you think you may be able to qualify for either CARE or FARA, you typically can qualify for the Energy Savings Assistance Program. And again, that's for both renters and customers who own their home. And then we also have a medical baseline program. This program has nothing to do with income. It is solely based on whether or not there is someone who resides in a household who needs more either electric or gas service for a medical need. And some of those situations you might think of that could apply would be someone who needs oxygen, somebody who sleeps with a sleep apnea machine, or possibly somebody in the home that has arthritis. You know, those are all common type medical conditions. If you have arthritis, you might need additional heating, which could give you more gas at a lower rate and then in turn lower your bill. So that's the same thing. If there's an electric need, we give you more electric service at the lowest rate, in turn lowering your bill. It also provides an extra notification in regards to any public safety power shutoff events. So it's important that we are aware if there is medical needs at a residence, so that we can ensure confirmation of events like this and ensure safety. You can get more information about this program at pge.com/medical baseline. You can also give us a call in the contact center. We'd be happy to assist you with that. To enroll in this program, you do need a doctor to sign off that there is an eligible condition. So whoever has the medical need would need the doctor to sign off on that. And there is an application available online, or one could be sent. And then lastly, the program I wanted to highlight today is new, called Arrearage Management Plan. That's a mouthful, so we call it AMP for short. And this program is a debt forgiveness program. So it's not a discount by any means. It literally is debt forgiveness if you are finding yourself in a situation where you are a care or fairer customer. If you're not, you can enroll. You have to have at least $500 owing and be 90 days or more past due, have been a customer with PG&E for at least 6 months, and have made at least one on-time current charges payment. Now, if you fit that criteria, then what we can do is enroll you in the AMP program, and each month that you make your new charge payment on time in full, then 1/12 of your debt would be forgiven, up to $8,000. It's a 12-month program. It's to help customers get caught up related to COVID pandemic, where we know that a lot of customers are struggling financially, and this is to hopefully help customers alleviate some of that debt. And in order to enroll, the only way to enroll at this time is to call the contact center, and the number is noted there for you as well. So lastly, if you don't join me in the breakout session, I just ask that you remember 3 things. 1, you have a choice when it comes to your rate plan options. So go online today, check the personalized rate plan comparison, make sure that you are on the best rate plan for you, because you could save money simply by just changing your rate plan. And then 2, make sure we're getting the contact information that is most up to date, and that we're sending you information in the language that you choose. And lastly, share the information about the programs and go online, see if you could qualify, or give us a call and we'll help to assist you in that. So I appreciate the time today. I hope that some of these tips will save some of you some money or your friends and family, and I'm available for any questions.
Sweet, thank you, Jessica. So we will go on to some questions that were dropped into the chat. So one question was, are there rate options for residential, business, or both?
There are rate options for business customers as well. And that tool that I just provided, or I've been speaking of, if you go to pge.com/rate choices, that tool does also apply for business customers. So you could go on there, run your personalized rate plan comparison for your business account, and see if in fact you're on the best rate, or change your rate plan right there.
Sweet. And then so moving on to the next question that was given. So anyone who lived in the Bay Area in the past couple of years knew about the wildfires. And so one person was asking, how is PG&E evolving to prevent the wildfires caused by its past practices?
Patty Poppy, our CEO, she's been providing a lot of information about this through the media. And what I could say based on our most recent information provided is that we're looking at undergrounding electric services for 100 miles. So it's quite extensive. A lot of that is currently in the planning stages right now, and more information is being provided as it becomes available. Some of the other press releases have also indicated earlier detection practices, such as understanding when there is a fault on a line, meaning when there's a break in the service, so that it can be investigated right away, and earlier investigation on those items as well, so that if there is something occurring at that site point, then it could be addressed a little bit earlier, in hopes to prevent further wildfires.
Cool. And then so just combining the other 2 questions that we have. So we all know about the new infrastructure bill that's being presented. And so what does this mean for PG&E? What practices is PG&E doing in terms of climate change?
PG&E, as well as the state of California, have really aggressive renewable energy goals. So Carlos alluded to some of this as he was talking about the time of use transition. he hit it right on the head. It is the time of use transition is to incentivize customers by moving them to a time of use rate plan to use energy in the off-peak periods outside of the peak windows when the demand on the grid is really great. The reason for that is because in the off-peak hours, renewable resources are much more plentiful. If you were to go to Cal ISO's website, you could see how renewable energy resources are utilized throughout the day. And during the daytime, you think about it in this way, when the sun is high in the sky and their solar is providing energy back to the grid, that is renewable resources. So that helps. The more that we can get customers to shift energy to those off-peak periods, to the renewable resource time period, the more that we don't have to use energy from other sources. And we are looking to become 100% renewable resource energy compliant. So that is the goal in the future, which would help to, of course, alleviate some of climate change.
Yeah, sweet. And then a couple more questions just popped in. In terms of outreach, someone's just wondering, do you guys have a digital media toolkit for local jurisdictions?
A digital media toolkit. I'm not sure if I'm understanding the question completely. We do have local public affairs that work with the city and county public agencies to provide information. We also have a media team that works with local and across our territory media folks to ensure information is being provided. Maybe if there's more information that can be provided, I could answer that better. Apologies if I'm not answering it correctly.
Yeah, and also feel free if Jessica didn't answer your question to go to a breakout room. But yeah, we will have to move on to our next speaker. So Alexandra, I'm passing it off to you. Thank you, Jessica.
Thank you.
Hello. Our final presenter is Diane Bailey, the Executive Director of Manila Spark, a community nonprofit aiming to help the city of Manila Park and the region become carbon neutral. She also leads the campaign for fossil-free buildings in Silicon Valley. Previously, Diane worked at the Natural Resources Defense Council, Citizens for a Better Environment in Chicago, and a local transportation planning agency in Houston. She's a certified climate change professional, CCP, and holds a bachelor's degree in chemical engineering from Washington University and a master's degree in environmental engineering from Rice University. I would like to present Diane Bailey. It seems that it's taking her a second to connect. In the meantime, we would like to open up more questions, actually, for Jessica, if that's possible.
Yeah, Casey, are you still there? Okay, hello, Jessica. We're bringing you back on for more questions. So, yeah, so just practically leaving where we left off. So someone had a question about the undergrounding in terms of your guys' response. And so they were just wondering where you were going to be able, where you guys are going to collect those extra costs through. Is that through additional electric costs or gas costs? Because they're concerned that electricity will become more expensive at a time when we need it to be less.
Yes, Patty Poppy has somewhat addressed this question. To keep it short, because I'm not in the finance field, and I want to make sure that I don't give you incorrect information. I can share the press release that was provided in regards to this, which does contain all the information that we currently have available at this time, because it's still being planned for. So if my information was noted there, or join me in the breakout room, I'll capture yours and I'll get it sent over to you. I appreciate the question though. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. We have Diane now back on. So Jessica, thank you again for hopping back on to answer this last question. So Alexandria, feel free to take it away.
Yes, we would like to present Diane Bailey.
Thanks so much for having me. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Great. So I'm unable to share my screen. If someone can pull up my slides or grant me access to share screen, I can bring up some slides. And I can keep talking while you're doing that. Or if you can grant me access or pull up my slides, that'd be great. Thanks so much for having me again. My name's Diane Bailey. I'm with a small climate community group called Menlo Spark. And let's see, there we go. Okay. Thanks so much. Next slide. All right, so a little bit about Menlo Spark, and I know that we're pretty far behind, so I'm going to try to breeze through these slides. Menlo Spark was started in 2015 by a couple of local environmental quality commissioners in Menlo Park who thought the city could do a lot more on climate, wanted to see a lot more active efforts to address climate, and formed our outside group. And we work with all aspects of the community, including businesses, local government, experts, and we try to engage everyone to work together towards high impact transformative solutions. Next slide. Okay, why are we all working towards climate measures and reducing carbon? Well, last year, 2020, was the hottest year on record, tied only with 2016. And I'm pretty sure that this year has broken some records too. We're really feeling the heat, not just in Menlo Park, but throughout the world. Next slide. And we're also having some serious increases in wildfire activity. And last year, 2020 was the worst wildfire year ever on record. And this year, already many more acres have burned. And it's hitting close to home for us. This is taken right here in San Mateo County. Next slide. And that is causing some seriously hazardous air quality for everyone, whether you're in a wildfire zone or not. We're all breathing in the hazardous air and it's not good for our health. So we're all feeling the impacts. Next slide. And we're facing sea level rise as well. San Mateo County is particularly vulnerable. This is a map that shows future flooding impacts, but we're already experiencing some flooding. And this image is taken from one of the local mobile home parks that had some severe flooding recently. And that's something that we'll unfortunately expect more of in the future. Next slide. And this is not hitting everyone in the same way. The equity impacts of climate are quite large. We know that the most vulnerable communities that are sort of the least responsible and contributing the least to climate change are feeling the impacts the most. And so that's extra reason to really step up and address this issue and to make sure that these Bayside communities and heavily impacted communities get the resilient benefits first and the most with funding and investment in climate measures. Next slide, please. Okay, so that was a lot of doom and gloom, and I just want to note that there's a huge upside of early action on climate and getting ahead of some of these, trying to get ahead of some of these efforts to reduce carbon pollution. We know that we'll be much better off in terms of public health and air quality, as well as developing a green, clean energy economy. Next slide. So Menlo Spark has developed a pathway to zero carbon emissions. And I'm not going to go through each of these measures, but I just want to highlight that all of the technology and the measures, policy measures that we need to reach zero carbon already exist. We have the tools. It's really more of a question of political will and how we're going to finance these measures. We know how to reach zero carbon. We know that we're already experiencing the impacts of climate, and we really need to step up our efforts, especially if we want to stay on track to Paris targets of limiting warming to 1.5 or 2 degrees, and to the points that Bruce brought up earlier. So I want to focus on our clean energy efforts. Next slide. I'm just going to run through a couple of the efforts on the pathway. Carlos talked in depth about clean power, so I won't review that too much, except to say that it's pretty amazing that Peninsula Clean Energy has brought us 100% carbon-free energy starting this year. They reached that milestone, and that enables us to really ramp up efforts to electrify everything, knowing that our power grid is so clean. Next slide. And similarly to electric vehicles, we've seen so much progress thanks to Acterra and as well as PCE, and we know we need to keep up those efforts and really accelerate that transition to electric vehicles as we support alternatives to driving as well. Next slide. So youth outreach is really key. We have been working with a lot of high school students and local youth to try to get their voices in front of elected officials at city council and county board meetings. Next slide. And collaboration is also really key. And I know that we're short on time, so I want to race forward to the next slide and talk a little bit about one specific collaboration that we have started a couple of years ago in March of 2019. It's called the Campaign for Fossil-Free Buildings in Silicon Valley. This is an effort targeting gas phase out from our homes and buildings. And a lot of folks have long thought of natural gas to be clean or natural or not so polluting, but all of the science is telling us quite the opposite. Natural gas is a fossil fuel. The climate impacts are outsized. Now we're seeing that as it leaks, the primary component of gas is methane, which is a very potent climate pollutant, about 80 times stronger than CO2. And it's contributing to about 30 to 40% of our carbon inventories from local cities. So this is a huge source of pollution. And as well, it has harmful health impacts. And much of it is coming to us via fracking, which has harmful community impacts. So we have about 37 member groups locally here in Silicon Valley working together through this campaign to really accelerate a phase out throughout the region. And we've targeted new construction, new home and buildings first through policies called REACH codes that aim to either require all electric new construction or make it much more difficult to use gas in new construction. And so far, this has been very successful. We've had about 23 different policies locally from San Mateo County at the county level to 22 other cities working together to prevent gas use in new construction. And that's really been a highlight of the larger Electrify Everything movement. About half of these policies statewide, there are 47, the slide says 47, I think now 48 total in the state, but about half of those are right here locally. So this has really been a place of innovation and leadership at the state level. Next slide. And a lot of that started right here locally in Menlo Park, where we innovated on an incentive-based approach to actually require all electric buildings. And a lot of cities have since followed suit, priming the way to now look at existing homes and buildings. Next slide. And along the way, we've forged a lot of partnerships with affordable housing developers and advocates, recognizing that we can't leave anyone behind. It's very important to us to make sure that as we seek to electrify both new construction and existing buildings, we want everyone to benefit from the health benefits of switching from gas to electric inside their homes and businesses. But we know that sometimes this can come with a cost, especially for developers who are not familiar with building all electric. And also in some circumstances, the retrofits of going all electric can be costly especially for older buildings. So we have a partnership with a consulting firm called Redwood Energy, and they've led some lunch and learns and created some guidebooks on how to retrofit affordably and how to do new construction all electric affordably. Next slide. So continuing along in that trajectory to focus on equity and to address existing homes and buildings, we're forging new alliances, especially now this year, to look at regional standards to replace or to prevent new sales of fossil fuel heaters and water heaters. We're looking, and those are called zero emission appliance standards that Bay Area Air District is looking at those. Those are unlikely to phase in the near term. I think the target year right now is 2029, so that's quite a ways out. And so in the near term, we're working with cities, especially Menlo Park, but also Half Moon Bay and other cities, to consider so-called replace on burnout standards. And we think these could be tied into a next phase of REACH code, or REACH code 2.0, if you will, to look at existing buildings and require any new permits for heating or water heating or any gas using devices to be all electric or zero emissions. And that work is underway right now. Next slide. And there are a couple of different ways that all of you can play a role and really lend a hand. First of all, with your own home, you can work on electrifying your home and converting that over time. And we have a new guidebook recently out with Redwood Energy, our partner, and other folks contributing, folks like Tom Cabot, an environmental quality commissioner in Menlo Park. He's created a low watt diet, or a low power tool to help you electrify your home without requiring any electric upgrades to your panel. So we'd encourage you to get online and check out this guide. And you can also get help from neighbors who have already electrified their home through our Electric Home Ambassador program. And that's on our Fossil Free Buildings website. You can access that. If you've electrified your home, you can give back to the community by becoming an ambassador and helping your neighbors do the same. And we have lawn signs as well to raise awareness. So the lawn sign is pictured on the slide. And lastly, and I'm wrapping up here because I know we're out of time, we have a new report out for Menlo Park because the city of Menlo Park is looking at converting 95% of all homes and buildings to all electric by 2030. It's a pretty aggressive goal. And so we did this report surveying the best practices and best measures to help the city get there in an affordable and equitable way. The report is called Gassed Out. It's available on our website. We hope that it can be helpful to other cities as well as they explore measures to get to all electric quickly and convert everyone. One of the measures I want to highlight as I wrap up is assistance for low-income households. In Menlo Park, about 10% of households are low-income. They're 30% below AMI, or many of those are care customers, actually. And we know that if we allow our utility user tax to be charged at the voter-approved rate, this ranges from about 2.5% to 3.5%, still a fairly low rate compared to other cities, we would generate about $3 million per year. And those funds could go towards electrifying and upgrading all of the low-income households in Menlo Park. And we think that's a really smart investment to help low-income households first, as we encourage the rest of the community to electrify and seek to adopt rules that require electrification when you replace appliances. We're very interested in your input on how you think it's best to get to all electric by 2030, but we do know we need to get there quickly. And we know it won't be easy, but the technology is there, and we can do this if we work together. Next slide. So it takes a collaboration across the community with students, residents, businesses. Everyone's going to have to lend a hand. Next slide. And with that, I want to, one more slide. We are ready to go, and we want to spark change in every community, not just Menlo Park. We know that equity must be front and center as we do this work, and we have to accelerate our efforts. The climate crisis demands it. Next slide. And I want to close by saying, please contact me with any questions or thoughts. Please share your ideas and visit us at our websites, fossilfreebuildings.org or menlospark.org. We hope that you can find the resources that you need, and very much look forward to continuing the dialogue in the breakout sessions. Thank you. Thanks so much for your time.
Awesome. Thank you, Diane. I love your presentation. I would like to open up the Q&A section to ask you some questions. I'll first start off with, for Jessica. But no, sorry, wrong question. Sorry, one moment. The agricultural industry, specifically the animal agriculture industry, is extremely harmful to the environment. The industry is particularly large in California. What are you doing about this?
Oh, well, I'm not sure how that relates to fossil-free buildings, and I would just say that we support regenerative agriculture. I'm not really familiar with the content of the question. I apologize.
Yeah, no problem. I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next question. Hi, Dan. Do you do any work with local schools in Minnetonka Park regarding electrification, and what do those partnerships look like?
Yeah, we had a wonderful group of interns this summer who are working at establishing closer ties and collaborations with students. We hope to be ramping that up in the fall. It's been a little bit slow during the pandemic. We have not worked with students as much as we hope. But we have had students participating in the REACH code hearings at city councils, and their participation has been amazing. They've really helped to kind of tip the balance, especially in cities where REACH codes have been controversial. And so in the coming year, we'll be working with Sunrise Bay Area and local student groups to try to kind of increase their participation in electrification, especially as we work towards the tougher measures that get at existing buildings in the different cities. Yeah.
Okay, one last question. You mentioned that the policy initiatives already exist. What are some policy examples that Minnetonka Spark supports on a state and federal level?
Yeah, we would love to see a sunset in the sale of gas appliances statewide, and we'd love to see other states adopt that. We've seen it in the context of gasoline cars, and there have been international efforts, dozens of countries passing these bans or sunsets on the sale of fossil fuel cars. We'd really like to see that when it comes to gas appliances. And on the federal level, we know that there are a lot of investment opportunities for just transition and job development or workforce training when it comes to electrification. And we would love to see that in the next infrastructure bill, those investments come down the pike. There are a lot of opportunities that Rewiring America, a national organization, is promoting, and we would support those. Specifically, there's a bill on the table right now in US Congress that is working to increase electrification as we upgrade all old homes throughout the nation. In the past, the discussion has been really centered around energy efficiency with home upgrades. And I know that Rewiring America and a lot of national groups have been working to get electrification kind of embedded in home upgrades together with efficiency. And we would support that as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much for answering these questions and for your presentation.
Thanks so much for having me. And I look forward to the breakout sessions.